Putting up hay is an important part of ranching here in South Dakota. Come along with us and learn how we get it done. From cutting to stacking with the Hesston 30B stack hand, pushing stacks, and how we haul the stacks home to the stack yards. To begin with, we head out to the field with the tractors and hydro swings. The hydro swing cuts the hay and puts it into a windrow. This makes it easy for the stack hand to pick the hay up and blow it into a stack. This particular field was planted with alfalfa and grass, giving it a nice blend for feeding our cattle through the winter. It is important for us to take note as to which way the hay was cut, because we want to pick it up going the same direction with the stack hands. Let me tell you the reason why. As the hay is cut, it falls into the machine. The auger then pulls it to the center and it is spit out the back of the machine. It will land layer after layer. Now picture it like dominoes falling down. When picking up the first piece, it will start to lift the second piece, and so on. When going the opposite direction it was cut, the layer you are picking up does nothing to help lift the second layer. It is not that you can't pick it up backward, but it doesn't seem to be as efficient or pick it up as clean. Now let's move on to the stacking. The hay is blown in and pressed into a stack. There is no need for twine to hold it together. Let's follow along with Ezekiel as we learn how the Hesston 30B works. To begin with, as the PTO is engaged, it gives power to the pickup drum, which has flail-like paddles on it. As it spins at high speed, it will blow or throw the hay up the chute that guides it into the machine. Now there are two hydraulic levers in the tractor for operating the stack hand. One of the levers operates the chute, raising and lowering it. The second lever is used to operate the hydraulic cylinders, which raise and lower the press. Now under that white cover, the arms are linked together through a gear-like system, which allows it to give even pressure over the whole press. Not only does it operate the press, but it also operates the flipper at the top of the chute, allowing you to blow the hay to the back of the machine or towards the front. Notice how when the press comes all the way up, the last few inches lifts an L-shaped shaft which pulls a cable operating the flipper. Something else that the hydraulic press operates is the back gate. When it's time to dump a stack, the press is usually a third to halfway up. Then we pull a rope in the tractor, which pulls a cable releasing the hook that holds the back door shut. Then the press is raised, which lowers the door all the way to the ground. After the stack is unloaded, the press is then lowered, which brings the back gate up and shut. Once the door's latch catches, we will be able to raise and lower the press without affecting the door. Now let's take a closer look at what all the PTO drives. The PTO powers a gearbox. First in line after the gearbox is the clutch system. You can adjust the tension of the clutch by these bolts. A little farther down the shaft, there's a large pulley, which turns two different belts. This first belt you see, when tension is applied, drives the conveyor chain for unloading the stack. The 3-groove belt drives the pickup drum. To unload the stack, we pull a rope from in the tractor cab, which pulls the tensioner pulley, tightening the belt to run the conveyor. Alright, now that we've showed you how it works, let's make a stack. To begin with, we blow the hay to the back of the machine, filling the gap down at the bottom. After 100 feet or so, we will adjust the flipper to blow towards the front of the machine. Once the front is filled, we will stop and pack it down with the press. It is only for this first press that we fill just the front. The reason for this is there always tends to be more hay in the back of the stack, which causes the top of the stack to be uneven. Then we will raise the press all the way up, blowing the hay to the back of the machine. As the machine fills up, it will fill up all the way to the front. Some days it's not always easy to see when it's full, when you're looking into the sun and the dust that's all around it. Once it's full, we stop and pack it again. We repeat this step several times until we have made a good-sized stack. When stacking grass hay, we find we may have to press it as many as 7 to 8 times to build a good-sized stack. Whereas when stacking alfalfa, we may only have to pack it 2 or 3 times. Once we have finished making a stack, it's time to back up and unload it. And now he's off to make another one. Because the stack mover trailer that we use hauls 3 stacks at once, we have to go back and unload the stacks in groups of 3. Although we try to unload the stacks as close as we can, there's always the gap between them where the tires from the stack hand are. After a little bit here, we'll have Ezekiel show you how we push the stacks together to prepare them for hauling them home. It's not every year that we're able to have 3 stack hands running at once, plus 2 people cutting, but we are very blessed to have good help for this haying year of 2020. One of the things I forgot to mention, especially when stacking grass hay, every so often you have to climb up on top to clear the hay off the vents. Another important detail is that when closing the gate latch does not always catch. So for every stack we unload, we get out and make sure that the latch catches. Alright, now let's line these stacks up and push them together. We've found there is a little bit of an art to pushing stacks. If you just carelessly push the stacks together, the tops on the 2 outside stacks can be leaning out. Then when you go to load them up on the trailer, they're more prone to tipping over. We've found that by tipping the top in first and then pushing in the bottom of the stack, it causes it to grip the side of the center stack, applying downward pressure on the outside stack. We'll watch Ezekiel push a couple more groups together as we speed the video up double time. Now it's time for my wife, my nephew, and I to head out to the field and haul some of this hay down to the stack yards. The Stack Mover trailer bed has 6 chains that are used to pull the stacks onto the trailer. Now it can be a little tricky to get under these stacks without pushing too hard or not pushing hard enough, because you have to match the ground speed of the tractor to the speed the chains are pulling the stack onto the trailer. Once I get my stacks loaded up, I go and load the stacks on the trailer that my wife brought up. Now it's time to head on out. For most of our fields, we're able to haul the hay through the pastures on the back dirt roads. But for this field, we have to drive on a gravel and then a short stretch of highway before pulling off to drive through the pastures. Proverbs 10 verse 5. He who gathers crops in summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps during harvest is a disgraceful son. Each individual stack weighs around 3,000 to 4,000 pounds, depending on whether it's grass or alfalfa. When following them from behind, it looks like stacks floating across the prairie. Now, because the stacks are wider than the tractor, it's pretty hard to get these backed in right the first time, because it's hard to see what you're doing. We have several different stackyards on the ranch, each at what we call a cell center, with pastures divided and coming into the stackyard from all around. This allows us to winter graze and yet be able to feed the cattle whenever a storm comes on. Thanks for coming along with us for another episode of Dagley Ranch Life. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, and God bless.